Okay, they all linked in? All right.
Yep.
Let's call the meeting to order. It is 4:04 on Wednesday, January 22nd. This is a Community Development Advisory Committee meeting. Before we start, I want to say this meeting is being recorded and broadcast via local cable access channel WCAT, Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. If anyone in the audience is recording, please let us know now. Anyone? Anyone? No? Okay, nobody. Continue on. Okay, let's see, opening remarks? No, nothing opening. All right, let's move right to the master plan. Sarah, lead us into the next section.
Hooray!
All right, woo!
Everybody.
All right,
A document somewhere to share?
yes,
Yeah.
let's share some documents.
I'm here with my friend Jane today.
Excellent, Jane,
Hello,
nice to meet you.
Jane.
I met Rich.
Hello, Jane. Hi, Jane.
Hi.
Hi, Jane.
John, any idea where this is?
If you go to cmrbc.org, you can go that way, right?
WarrenMasterplan.com?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Might be faster.
Right,
WarrenMasterplan.com.
the more direct way.
So we're going to talk about land use. It's our last chapter for
Alright.
strategies.
Okay.
But I wanted to go over some admin first as an update of where we are. If you go to the document library,
Yeah.
there we are. We look so good. And first I want to go to, if you go to 2024 meetings, to February. I'm going to bring up an archive.
There it is. February's on
I
top.
blew right by it.
Yeah, you were just flying.
I was going by.
That kickoff PDF. Yeah. The third slide. This is our plan timeline.
Schedule, yeah.
So we are at January, land use strategy. I'm bringing this up because since this is our last strategy meeting, next month we're going to go into chapter edits. So my original idea was to do one per month starting before. But since we haven't had comments on the chapter so far, I think starting in February we can do 2 at a time. So next month will be housing and economic development, followed by transportation and most likely town services in March.
Okay.
So we have 3 of those chapters in this folder already for your review, and we have that comment matrix for the small ones, and then we can bring up big changes or recommendations in this meeting in February.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Excellent.
So full transparency, we have not been funded for phase 2 yet, and nobody's heard from the state about this grant. It's 3 months late from awards coming out. So it's unsure if that's going to be funded.
Wow.
They usually have a deadline of applications at like late May, but last year it was July. So that was 2 months late.
Okay.
We just,
So,
Yeah.
so the whole thing's moving way behind.
Yep.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so we haven't heard anything. We still have funding to keep moving forward, and we're not going to pause the plan. But phase 1 funding, that contract does end in June, and that's a state deadline. So we will have to use up those funds for June. If we don't have phase 2 funding by then, we'll have this period of like 3 months where we're wrapping things up that we could work out with, but
Okay.
with or without it, we're going to finish the plan. It just might look a little different. But we'll keep you updated on what happens. And if that is funded, we are set to get a partial match from District Local Technical Assistance, as Jim heard. So that meeting would be probably around March. And then the other half of that match would be from the town of Warren.
Okay.
So I bring that up because if funding doesn't come through, we could kind of use those 2 buckets to help us push to the end. But that's ongoing.
All right. So it's not bad news by any means yet.
No.
But we're going to be crossing our fingers in a few months. Okay. We'll make
Yeah.
it work.
But just since this timeline says we're starting phase 2 in November of last year,
Yeah.
we are doing phase 2 chapters, but still waiting on that. Cool. So then we could move to that January 2025 for land use. land use is a fun last chapter because it's kind of like the summary of everything we've talked about under one big vision. So it takes all of the areas we talked about in housing and economic development we want to focus on, takes everything from natural cultural resources and open space for the areas we really want to preserve, and brings that together into one map and thinks about the implications of our land use vision for transportation and town services and facilities and capital planning, and brings it under one big macro vision, which is fun. And it's a joy to have Jane here. She's been working on your zoning diagnostic. You'll see a lot of this chapter is about zoning, but there's some other things we're bringing into this that don't fit neatly under, those kind of arbitrary chapter names. So for example, we moved everything about the Wrights Mill to this chapter that we had talked about in the housing chapter
Okay.
originally, because that is unsure if it's housing, economic development, mix. So it'll be in the land use chapter. And there's a few other things that we talked about with Jordan, I think almost a year ago now, from housing, that we're moving to the land use chapter just because it is broader than housing. So you'll see a few things that we talked about in that last meeting and some cool ideas for what we could do with the zoning rewrite that's coming up for Warren, as well as more long-term land use strategies. So I'll pass it over to Jane.
Okay. I know we just got this document up yesterday, so I doubt any of you have really had a chance to look at it.
I did.
You didn't?
I did.
Oh, you did? Wow, I'm impressed. So we start off with just a review of what the current zoning regulations are. I don't know what your format is. Do you read everything or?
No, yeah,
Okay.
you should present it like a PowerPoint kind of.
Okay, okay. And then we break out some of the allowed uses in the mill conversion overlay district, as well as the major development overlay. And the zoning bylaw directly impacts economic development, housing, everything. It's kind of like a hub of a wheel, how it touches everything else in all the other chapters. And so, I know we've been working with the planning board on the zoning diagnostic, and you find that if you want more infill in your village center, you're gonna have to look at your zoning to make sure that you can allow the type of infill that you want to bring more vibrancy to downtown. So, in this document, we'll look at several different recommendations or strategies in there. Okay, so potential strategy 1.1, regularly amend zoning bylaws to create a modernized document that is clear, easy to use, and up to date with Mass General law. We're not discussing it today, but if any of you want to see the result of the zoning diagnostic, it does a little bit of background review of other planning studies that have been done over the years, and it pulls out any strategies from those documents that are related to zoning. And so I think that as we go into the zoning update this coming year, this is our opportunity to work some of those strategies into this, and it's gonna help achieve those strategies and goals from other projects. But we have a couple of maps that show the non-conform, or potentially non-conforming parcels that are in town center, or village center. As well as, is this one West Warren?
The second map is West.
West
Okay,
Warren,
that's what I
yeah.
thought, yeah, okay. Were there any questions on that first one, any additions, or?
I guess I would say, there's nothing we can do about these, right? So why did they come up?
About the non-conforming parcels? If
Yeah.
you amend the village zoning,
Then we can.
you can make them conforming. You can remove that nonconformity, and you can make it easier for people to actually build on those infill sites.
Okay.
It just.
Make it more conforming by
By
Taking
reducing
taking their
setbacks.
nonconformity and putting it in the bylaw.
Looking at what the current lot sizes are, what the setbacks are, the frontage, and looking at what the town can accept for revised dimensional requirements in that area.
Mhm.
Okay.
Chances are a lot of this was built before we had cars, so we didn't necessarily have on-site parking.
Mhm.
So some of these lots just might not have enough room to accommodate what we're looking for in zoning today. And most zoning bylaws tend to zone for large lot, single family that are out in more rural areas where they do have more space.
Mhm.
That doesn't work in the village center.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And it could also be not requiring special permits for single-family homes in the village center. I understand that some people in the survey have commented that, or maybe it was the workshop, that that's a deterrent, having to go through that process, so.
And how many acres and lots are we talking about?
Well, it's all in the village, so
In the
it's a
village.
smaller.
In the village, yeah.
So it's a smaller area, there's smaller, requirements, but still the requirements don't come to where they need to be if we want that growth. So we'd have to change the zoning for the village to allow for that expansion and growth within the
Would
village.
houses be more on top of each other then? As tight as it is, what kind of,
I mean,
it
it depends on what type of structure, what type
Yeah.
of thing you're looking for. You can change, you can leave some alone, change others, I'm sure, there's probably a lot that goes into it. But you have to be open to the option of change if you want anything new to happen.
in the village.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay.
because otherwise, they're kind of, everybody's locked out, they can't do much, there's so many limitations. So,
Thank you, that was a
Yeah.
great explanation. Potential strategy 1.2, align townwide strategies with established priority development areas and priority preservation areas. There is a map on the next page of those areas that were identified with the Rural 11 prioritization plan done back around 2012, 13, somewhere around there, where we looked at all of the communities in the region to identify, where's the infrastructure, where are the roads, where are the utilities, what makes the most sense for development, and then we looked at where are the most critical areas that should be preserved as open space. And then also, what areas are there infrastructure or where there should be infrastructure to support development? And so I think as part of this process, it'd be good to review these sites to see if they're still in the same category we thought they were back in 2012, whether there are any new sites in town that should be considered,
mhm.
and then update this list accordingly. And then in your leisure time, there is a list, a table with all of those sites in those three categories.
Would it be helpful to discuss this now?
Sure. So as far as development areas, we're looking at Warren Center Village, West Warren Village, the Wrights Mill area, land near the Mass Pike in West Warren at Gilbert Road area, the Warren Pumps, the transfer station, and the former town hall in Center Village. I know there's some CDBG work being done, I think, on the roadway, Pulaski Street, for better access to Wrights Mill. I don't know if any work has been done on any of these other sites since then.
I don't think so.
No.
No.
Can you think of any other areas that maybe we should look at?
Anything along 67?
Well, that's on there.
That's
Okay,
on there,
okay.
yeah.
Capsize into the Quabog River,
Okay.
basically.
Yeah, do you mean the part between the villages?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's what he's referring to.
Yeah,
So we could-
311B.
Be more clear.
Infrastructure and transportation on that type. But as far as development,
So that area of Route 67 between the villages, were you referring to that just for infrastructure or?
well, I'm not sure what
Development.
it is.
I'm just seeing where there's any other opportunity, anything that
Sure.
we
For-
missed anywhere from 67.
Because
on.
they have it written in for infrastructure,
Yeah.
it's just this is development, so it's
Yeah.
a little different.
Yeah.
But that same space, I mean, obviously, it's limited because the river
Mhm.
Right.
doesn't allow you to just build, you can't just put factories or put
No.
businesses, put
No, I'm
anything
just
like
throwing
that
things out,
anymore.
yep.
Okay.
So, okay.
I know in meeting with the planning board on the zoning diagnostic, there was mention of a river walk I
Yes.
think between the villages, so,
And I found that Mass Wildlife actually owns a large chunk of the property right along the river. Between
Oh.
Route 67 and the river, the biggest piece of land between Warren and West Warren is owned by the Mass Wildlife Fishing Game, whatever it is there.
Okay.
Yeah. They own a bunch of land in West Warren as well, but they actually own that piece.
okay.
And I drive by it every day now, look at it and go, ooh, I can see the river walk coming.
Are they
We're doing
open to
it.
things like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
So that's not a hard.
Not a hard sell at
So,
all.
Yeah.
I could see a little rest stop with ice cream or iced coffee or something for people on the way.
Sure.
How about the preservation areas? Are there any other areas that have been identified since then, besides Coleman's Pond, Quabog River and Water Trail, and Lucy Stone Park, Old Bay Path Indian Trail, Devil's Peak, Coy Hill, Marks Mountain, Shepherd's Farm, and Lucy Stone Park?
Would we want to take Devil's Peak off this list?
Well, it's private.
That's private.
So, yeah, maybe.
But isn't Shepherd's Farm private too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shepherd.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just
So
thinking
isn't that
because
private, along with some of the stuff on Gilbert Road, isn't that mostly private too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The west side, west of the
Mhm.
of the street.
Of the road, yeah.
Right, I'm just throwing that out there.
yeah, we don't necessarily have to take off everything that's private.
No,
in case
yeah.
things turn hands. But I'm just thinking since we took Devil's Peak off the trails map and it is in that development overlay, maybe it's not a preservation parcel.
Yeah.
We also recently learned that we may own some land on Marks Mountain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still
We're
think
not
that.
clear. We do own one strip that leads to a bigger piece.
From the
but
south
We're a little
side,
unclear.
Yeah.
Well,
At least.
access from the south side?
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
we have
Crouch.
a right of way that we own from Crouch Road that goes up the mountain. It only goes about halfway up, and then that connects to another 40 plus, I think it's 42 acre piece of property that we might actually own, but we're not
Oh.
sure yet. So, and that literally encompasses the whole peak of the mountain is
Mm-hmm.
what we would own. That 42 acres is the top of the mountain. So, it would be quite exciting that we have the right of way and potentially this property that is perfect for recreation. Perfect.
King of the Hill.
Wait, are we gonna put a Walmart up there?
Yeah, right next to the 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Cumberland Farms is on the other side though.
Yeah. We
They're
gotta
not-
separate that.
Yeah.
All right, and any other infrastructure needs or,
Yeah, Mass
Recommendations.
Turnpike
Well-
interchange, take that,
Oh, public transit, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, we need that, we need a bus to come through,
absolutely.
right? To
That would be
connect
so big,
East and West, Pioneer Valley, and.
Peter Pan.
WRTA,
yeah.
something.
Yeah, we're in that little void where
Yeah.
nobody wants to go.
No.
But if you do get businesses or potential opportunities, then they probably might want to do it.
Maybe,
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're hoping,
I know.
it'll help a lot.
All righty. Moving on, potential strategy 1.3, address natural features such as steep slopes and rock outcroppings that present challenges for development. And so what I've done is taken some language from the hazard mitigation plan, combined with the municipal vulnerability assessment plan that identified some key strategies that might be addressed through zoning amendments, some, such as stormwater issues, any other regulatory solutions to prevent new development from making stormwater runoff worse, protecting the natural environment and ecosystem services, support public quality of life, and undertake other actions that build community resilience to climate change and natural hazards. I know in speaking with Joyce Iharker from the Concom, she was recommending that we look into some type of a steep slope bylaw. In looking at the USGS surficial map, it looks at what materials are on the surface, including, it's got all the contours, so you've got the slopes, plus it has where the bedrock is. And so as part of the zoning update, we'll be looking at developing steep slope bylaw to address that.
Okay.
That'd be good.
Legally, I don't know if you can say there's no development, over a certain slope. I don't know if somebody would say that's a taking, or if you just have certain stricter criteria for that.
Yeah,
But I'm sure like emergency services would be concerned about having to get their equipment up steep slopes as well, being able to access properties.
The biggest problem in our town is groundwater is like 6 inches underneath the surface.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
and the further
the
up the
steep
hill, the
slopes.
further up the hills you go, the more that water is under pressure and pushes out farther.
Yeah, so then you,
Yeah, the
Clear
weight
a
of the
steep
mountains that
slope.
push the water out.
and then,
Wow.
now you have all that water
Yeah.
running down the slope.
Huh.
So we've had that problem with solar sites.
Yes.
So I could see different action items involving both steep slopes and stormwater and the groundwater issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Welcome to Warren. It's rocks and water.
Yeah. And a couple people.
Yeah, we're mixed in there.
Yeah.
all right, are you ready to move on to key finding number 2?
Sure.
Reuse former brownfields, vacant buildings, and underutilized sites, such as the Wrights Mill, as Sarah mentioned, that we moved over to this chapter, which, right now, we don't know, does that mean residential? Does it mean some other use? Does it mean a mixed use? But I think as we work through this process, hopefully, we can get a better idea of what that might look like, and whether the zoning for that overlay needs to be amended at all. So, I do understand that Warren has plenty of water, so you're in a really good position that way. Most communities do not have that. All right, potential strategy 2.1, continue to work toward the redevelopment and reuse of Wrights Mill. Working with the property owners to create an RFP for the site reuse. We have a little table in here on some of the responses to the survey on what type of uses people in the community prefer to see or would support at Wrights Mill. 25.5% said shopping, and 23.5% said housing, and then in third place was office use at 16.3%. So that'll give you an idea of what the residents are looking for there. Not surprising. Many of our small towns, people want to see some type of amenities so they don't have to drive miles and miles for shopping, but, even if it's small shops, just
Yep.
some type
sure.
of services in the area. Engage West Warren community in planning for the mill redevelopment. And then looking at several proactive measures to ensure that redevelopment projects are not disproportionately do not disproportionately harm vulnerable residents, such as inclusionary zoning and affordable housing trust, tenant protections, community benefits agreements, and phased development. Any questions there?
No.
No? All right. Seek funding to complete Phase 1 and 2 environmental assessments. And then, if needed, seek funding for Step 3 for cleanup grants through the EPA. I don't know if any studies have been done so far.
I'm not aware of it.
Okay.
There might have been private studies
Yeah.
done in the past
Okay.
couple of years, but we don't have access to
Okay.
those,
All right.
if there were.
Any questions before I move on to key finding number 3? Existing large lot dimensional requirements leads to consumption of open space and requires more cost. So I think, I don't know if this group has talked much in the housing review about cluster developments or open space residential development, where, let's say, for instance, the zoning requires a 2-acre lot for a house. You might cluster the homes closer together, maybe on a half-acre each, but that extra acre and a half goes to open space. So your roads are shorter, you're not having to maintain as much. The driving distances aren't as far. And so that's one of the ways that you can get some residential use in and still preserve that open space. Potential strategy 3.1, strategically promote development in areas with existing development. And so that goes back to the Rural 11 study that identified the priority development areas, which looked at one of the things is where is your existing infrastructure? It just makes more sense to build where you already have infrastructure than to have to put in all new roads and utilities. And it also reduces development in open space areas. You could upzone, which is what I was referring to before about changing the dimensional requirements in the village center, so that those lots are buildable and you can get more vibrancy in the village areas. Transfer of development rights. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but suppose you have a farmer or that wants to stay in farming, but he's got developers offering lots and lots of money for his land. But somebody else has land elsewhere that's more suitable for development. The farmer can sell his development rights on his land to someone else and it keeps his land in agriculture. It kind of just shifts where the building is done.
Okay.
So, it's something that we're looking at in a couple of other towns as well. And then there's the options of voluntary easements and property restrictions if somebody wants to put their land into some kind of restriction. I know organizations like the Nature Conservancy and the Trust for Public Land or other land conservation trusts will sometimes purchase those rights from property owners to keep those lands in agriculture
Yeah.
or in conservation. Potential strategy 3.2, encourage clustered housing in greenfield development. So I was getting ahead of myself when I already mentioned the open space residential development. And so some of the key features of it, as I mentioned, are smaller lot sizes with shared open space. Sometimes the land is dedicated to the town, sometimes it's the HOA that maintains it and owns it. Either way, the land gets preserved as open space. And then there's more compact design that, is hopefully will create more of a neighborhood environment, kind of like you do with cottage housing.
Yeah.
And so the benefits of that in rural areas would be the land conservation. So, any questions? No?
So you only talked about, okay, wait a minute. Hold on a sec, where is, wasn't there something about Brownfield?
Yeah,
Where was that?
Wright's Mill, oh, yeah,
That's
the,
page 7.
Oh, key finding
key
two.
finding two.
So, vacant building. Okay, so you only talked about that one spot, though. We have a lot of
Oh,
vacant buildings. We have an old, it used to be a cleaners, kind of near where Cornerstone Bank was. So that's Brownfield.
okay. I could
I
check
don't
the
know about-
EPA site.
We also there's like that Grange site that's on East Road, near the bottom of East Road.
East
Yeah.
Liberty, yeah.
Yeah,
Liberty
Eastern
Street.
Liberty,
Easton Liberty, yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
Is that Route 9? No.
No,
No.
no.
no,
It's, do you know where East Road is?
I'll have to look it up.
It's
Yeah.
in a neighborhood, basically. There's I don't know,
Yeah.
acre or two?
I don't, it's maybe an acre,
Yeah.
maybe, it's not much bigger
Yeah, I
than
guess it's
that,
an acre.
yeah.
Does the town own that, or somebody? is it private?
I'm not sure, I think it's private,
Okay,
I'm not positive on that.
it's a big overgrown mess, right?
It
now.
is, it's a mess, I think.
Got a
the-
corner lot?
Yes, the corner lot.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think somebody, the contractor or somebody who owns it dumped a whole bunch of fill material there years ago.
Yeah.
And that's where it just got left in piles.
Yeah.
And that's just overgrown with brush now.
Yeah.
And there's logs that were there and an old trailer, and other
Yeah.
stuff that's just kind of falling apart. It'd be a really nice piece of property to do something with.
Yes,
But,
it's an eyesore right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, and actually it's creating a little bit of an issue with runoff because the water running off all the gravel piles is slowly pulling sediment out into East Road and it runs down into the intersection of East and 67.
Okay.
So I've noticed it so much because I clean the streets, and every year there's extra sand in that intersection, and we don't put sand on the roads at all anymore, basically, very little amount. And it's like, where's this coming from? And I figured out, oh, it's all runoff from the piles dumped on that property.
So is that the Grange site or something else on East Road?
No, I think that was the
Gra-
site.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
Grange, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for mentioning that, Rich.
There's vacant houses on 67, I mean, there's vacant houses like
There's vacant
scattered
houses scattered
all over.
everywhere.
Yeah.
It'd be really nice to clean all those up.
Yeah,
Have some sort of development deal with it or something where it's like promote some sort of, hey, help us clean this site up and, help promote, build this, or we'll support you in that, or whatever it might be, but something promotional to get private money involved in helping clean up and redevelop those areas, those houses anyway.
An HGTV design competition.
There
Yeah.
you go. Building,
And Warren.
yeah, and Warren, how can we call that? Let me get on the phone to my executive. Was Q hook me up with something?
NFL? We will.
Yeah. I know a big shot in there, so he'll hook us up.
All
We'll
right.
get some money deal coming in.
You have to think creatively.
Is there any other properties you can think of?
No.
What about the old, the hall there in West Warren? on Main
Oh,
Street?
yeah.
That giant building,
Community?
the community
West
hall.
Warren Community Hall.
That would be phenomenal to have something redone with that structure, or, I mean, whether it's savable or not. Of course, the same issue we always discuss with those is there's no parking anywhere, and the
Yeah.
lot is so small that it just holds the building, and there's not much other room around it.
Is it town-owned?
No,
Okay.
we wish. Well, actually, we don't, because
Yeah,
it'd be a
maybe not,
big
yeah.
bill. It'd be real expensive to deal with, so.
Yeah.
But we can do something really neat to put a private investor in there to do something cool with it that our community would love. I mean, that's what we're pushing for. You want that.
Mhm.
So supposedly we have a housing crisis in the state.
Yes.
Why is there no money to take mill buildings or like the West Warren Community Hall and turn it into housing?
Housing.
So the
Right.
Affordable Homes Act, that was passed in August.
Yeah,
It was like $5.16 billion or something like that. Some of it will go to infrastructure to make housing possible. Some of it is going to some housing developments that are already planned, like mill redevelopments.
okay.
And so for the MBTA towns, there's additional funding for them. If they comply, they have an ordinance or a bylaw that has been approved by the state, there is additional funding available to those communities. But I'll have to look through, because there's pages and pages of funding within that.
So redevelop the mills into a huge community with shopping and jobs and everything.
Yeah,
And then
that'd be
put a stop on the east-west rail line, which walk right over the bridge and get on the train right
Yeah,
there
that
and
would
head
be-
into Boston or
Yeah.
Worcester or go to Springfield, wherever you want.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we could make this the center. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm still saying, Warren's in the middle of everything.
it is, yeah.
It could be the catalyst
That's it.
to get everything else going.
Is there anything new on the situation of Gilbert Road or potential somebody doing something there?
Is that the Callahan property?
Yes.
Yes. Is there anything,
No, I have
is that
property.
still nothing new from there?
Nope, nothing new right now.
Nope.
Okay.
So that's, yeah, it's like sitting on a big winning lottery ticket that we can't cash in.
Yeah.
Somebody else has to cash it in.
Yeah,
I just thought maybe there's something new the last time we met. No.
no,
Okay, no. I won't go there.
unless you know something that we don't know.
Yeah,
I
you got
don't
some
know.
hidden information?
I don't, but I just, when I heard it, it was very exciting to me, what potentially could be there, but it's all chatter, not
Okay.
facts.
Okay.
Not facts.
Don't let facts hold you back.
That's
Or
right.
lack thereof.
Yeah, who needs facts?
Cool.
Okay.
And if you like, I know Rich has a copy of the zoning diagnostic. I don't know if you want it sent to the rest of you to consider
Sure.
in coordination with this.
Yeah.
just because it might bring up
Good
some
idea.
other ideas
Yeah.
of recommendations that were made from other studies.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, that's fine if you want to send that out.
okay, cool.
I'll put it in the folder
Okay.
in this meeting.
All right. Anything else with this?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I have to ask, since this is the last chapter, is there anything we haven't talked about at all that you want to see in the plan? Or expectations for what the master plan would include that we haven't discussed? Big question.
No, I think we pretty much
Yeah.
touched on every direction that we kind of want to go on. I don't.
Plus getting the feedback of the residents, which is big, so what we missed, I think they brought in, and I think we've covered
Yeah.
pretty much everything.
Yeah. Can't think of anything
No.
else. Oh.
We'll get to
Outside-
writing.
Some crazy strategy that somebody invented that's gonna make us prosper, I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Cool. That's it then?
Anything else? No, we're good?
All
Okay,
right.
well, thank you very much.
you.
Appreciate that.
You have homework. for next
Darling
month.
town.
Thank you both very much.
Yes,
You're
thank you.
welcome.
All right, moving on. Let's see, other updates, let's see, other grant programs, MVP, and hazard mitigation. I know we do have a little bit coming down the pipe with that one.
Yeah, for the MVP.
Yeah.
Yeah, we submitted, I haven't heard anything yet, I assume you have it out there.
Yeah.
We submitted an expression of interest.
Yeah.
For culvert replacements in downtown.
Nothing yet.
Waiting, yeah.
Yes, waiting,
Waiting for
just
that.
waiting. Okay. Complete streets, we do have an update. The Board of Selectmen voted to accept complete streets. And I've just submitted through the link to the state for their approval of it from us to accept this and then go into the next stage of planning for that. So we'll be able to move forward with complete streets, which is exciting. Another opportunity to bring in grants and make changes and hopefully make it a safer community for all of us when it comes to transportation of people. Oh, okay, and then green communities, I don't know if we had any updates on that. I know Jim gave us a bunch last meeting, so,
Yeah.
I don't know, John.
Yeah, Jim mentioned one quick thing, the improvements, the weatherization, and I believe an HVAC unit at the senior center,
Yep,
is going to be, started in mid-February.
mid-February,
Yeah, so
okay.
that was the only update I had on that.
Oh, I'm sorry, John, can you please step to the
Yeah,
mic,
of
because I'm
course.
they're
Yeah.
gonna say they couldn't hear you.
Of course.
Thank you, appreciate that. All right, so moving on to the big one, CDBG, Community Development Block Grant.
That sounds good.
John, walk us through.
Okay, yes, sir. I do have a couple things I just want to hand out real quick before I get in here. One is the sign-in sheet. Usually this time of the year, it's really, I'll just give you this to hand down. And then, you have copies of these, you can just use up those too. So quick update on FY '21. The project that was funded through that, the School Street Phase 1, that's 100% complete. The only other project that we still have ongoing was the Senior Center Improvement Project, which included replacing the flooring area around the loading dock and then 2 entry doorways. That is also expected to start right around the time the weatherization project and the Green Communities Project at the Senior Center, right around mid to late February. So that should be started in the next few weeks here. FY '22-23, the School Street Project Phase 2, the construction work's all complete. We're still working on closing out on the paperwork side of things, but in terms of the construction, that is all set, all done. The Town Common Improvement Project, that's well underway. The last I had heard, team from Weston Simpson has completed the surveying of the site, so that is good news.
Okay.
I will probably be setting up a second meeting with the committee, probably early next month, excuse me, early March.
Okay.
Early March. One question I did have on that, I know there's a little bit of discussion in the last meeting that we had, whether or not the committee was gonna essentially act as an ad hoc, or was it gonna be something that was, you know, voted upon. Was there any outcome of that? I mean, I know there was a couple of things that were like being tossed around, that there was already a committee that was formally recognized in place.
For the town common?
Right.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have a committee.
there was. It was already a recognized committee.
Okay,
So-
okay, okay, so I just want to double check, I make sure I have the same
Yeah.
list of people, okay.
Yeah.
All right, great.
We had to kick off.
All right. So I'll make sure all those people are on the list, and then once we organize that, I think it might make sense to maybe jump, or couple it with, you know, a parks recreation meeting, or something
Okay.
along those lines, a recreation meeting or something.
Yeah, I'm not, when the parks meet.
They're meeting the 28th.
Of February?
Of January.
Oh, okay.
Coming up,
So, and then it'll be whatever the end of
yeah.
February. So we'll probably shoot to, maybe we can team up with them in their parks meeting for the
Team-
end of
yeah.
Do
February.
you wanna kinda team up for February?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that
Kinda
might make
give them a
sense.
heads up.
yeah,
this
well,
year.
that's it. We'll reach out to them
Yeah.
ahead of time.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll confirm with Weston and Simpson, they have enough time in advance. If worst case, it would be like late March,
Yeah.
their meeting probably in
Okay.
late March.
Yeah, they seem to, meet every month.
Oh,
The
okay.
parks meet every month.
Yeah.
Okay, great, that's good to know. So I'll make note of that. Okay. So yeah, that's the update on 22-23, and then the only other thing is the amendment, the budget amendment for Hillside Ave, the design. The amendment's been submitted, and I know it's currently under review from the state. So pending that approval, we'll be able to move forward with that and get that underway. So that's good news there. Looking at the FY '24 CDBG program, so we just received 2 proposals for the engineering design services for Central and River Street. So we have one from Weston and Sampson, and then another one from Waterfield Design Group. So myself, Jeremy,
Yeah.
and Andy will be reviewing those proposals. And actually, anyone else who wants to join, I do have 2 extra copies of proposals, if there's anyone that wants to be part of that. We'll be doing that next week or so. You know, and then, you know, move forward with awarding the contract and beginning the design work.
Yep.
So keep you updated on that. And then also the Cutter Park Improvement Project, we'll probably put that out. The RFP will probably go out, I would say, late February, maybe early March, right around that
Okay.
timeframe. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's the '24 program. Moving on to the FY '25 grant application development. So a couple of things that I want to touch upon there. If I could just ask you to refer to this handout.
Yep.
Is it that, yeah. Okay. So we've had previous conversations around potential activities. This just kind of lists them out. You know, at this point, I think it makes most sense to proceed with each of these. I'll go through each one, see if there's any questions, and provide like a quick little update on it. So the first one being the Hillside Avenue Improvement Project. So as I mentioned, you know, we are going through the process to reprogram those funds to fund the design. At this point, what I think would be best, and I would advise the town, because we do have limited time to have this design complete, I feel it'd probably make most sense to, you know, instead of go through an RFP process, we kind of hire an engineer that we've worked with regularly. I say we, and Jeremy,
Yeah.
please step in if you'd like, based on cost reasonableness. So it's, in terms of procurement law, it's completely legal
Yeah.
and legitimate. But I think what it does is it allows us to actually put this design and have it done and completed within the time we have for the application. So I'll put together a formal memo explaining that, and obviously you guys will see that, but that's, I think, probably the best approach if we want to have this included in this year's application. We'd kind of have to go down that road instead of
Yeah.
opening it up to an RFP process, so.
I think that's something we really definitely need to do, because completing this neighborhood, obviously Hillside Avenue is the final street.
Right.
And, you know, pushing that along, and I feel like, you know, using this process I feel comfortable with the engineers we've been working with on this entire project, this neighborhood, and I feel like if that will get us into the position where we can apply for the actual construction money on this next grant application, then that's what we need to do.
Right. Yeah. No,
So,
exactly.
and again, it's something that's completely within the law. It's not
Right.
like we're reaching outside of something to
Exactly.
make something happen in a way that's not, not proper.
Right.
But it's set up like this so we can take this avenue to get this project off and running.
Exactly,
So.
exactly. So, yeah, so that's that. You know, just an anticipated timeline, I would imagine we'd have the approval from the state within a week, then move forward with contract with the engineering firm, probably by mid-February would be ideal, and then having them kind of start the work immediately following that.
Yeah.
Another thing is I've also been in communication with that particular firm, the engineering firm, and they have assured me that they can get it done within the time frame that we need to get it done, so that's also encouraging.
Good.
So yeah, that's kind of the direction with the Hillside Ave. And again, the whole reason for this is because when we go to apply for the actual grant application itself, it's very favorable to have bid-ready plans and specs, and it's actually required. If we don't have it, we could still apply, but you'd lose points. And being that, you know, this year's NEET scores have decreased, we need to be able to make sure we don't lose any points anywhere. So, again, really advantageous to get this planning, this design study done.
Shovel ready, yeah.
Yeah,
Shovel ready.
exactly. So, just kind of on that one particular activity, are there any questions or comments?
No, I think we're all pretty much agree, let's make it happen.
Okay.
We don't know what's happening with funding in the future, and
Right.
Yeah.
it's there as of today, we don't
Yeah,
wanna
we
lose
know
out.
that this
Right.
application will allow us to
Yeah.
apply for this street, for this construction
We don't know where
phase.
we're
Let's
going.
get that design
Yeah.
done.
Okay, great, great, sounds
Yeah.
good. Okay, moving on to the Washington Street Neighborhood Infrastructure Planning Study.
Yes.
So, yes, and Jeremy, if you want to, you know.
No,
talk
no,
us
no,
through-
go,
That's
go,
totally
go,
fine,
go.
yeah, okay. I know some of these things you probably know better than I do. But I know we previously talked about this. An update on this, we recently got essentially what's like referred to as pre-approval from the state that we can use a designated census area to qualify the project. So we know that, you know, we can move this forward under the, you know, eligibility of the CDBG program.
Okay.
So benefiting low to moderate income residents. So that's good there. That area encompasses, and Jeremy, I may need some help on this one. So looking at Southbridge Road, starting
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
going east,
Yep.
hitting every single street
Yep.
up through till, Rich, what's the street that you?
Burbank.
Yes, Burbank, right.
Yes.
So that area, it would encompass this entire planning study area.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there enough
Good.
low-income,
Yes.
So,
is it really?
So what this planning study will do, will allow us to assess the condition of all the infrastructure,
Mhm.
and then going forward from there, we could then start looking at picking out individual streets. And so whether we want to do that, we would do it, you know, through an income survey.
Yeah.
So we don't know that all these streets would be income eligible to receive the block grant funds to actually move forward to a design, but it'll allow us at least a starting point and a plan to reference once we start looking at each individual street.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like, yeah, it's the first step in the process before we can get to,
Yeah.
you know, the actual construction of it. So that's one, I, again, just want to make sure, are there any comments, questions on that activity to be included?
No.
Okay.
So you didn't include from Burbank further east on Washington, I guess?
Correct.
How come?
correct. So my understanding was, isn't it just open, really a lot of open space? Isn't that neighborhood kind of end at that point?
Yeah.
Well, so on the north side of the street, it's forest, but the south side's got a lot of houses.
So the south side is included?
Oh, it is, okay.
Yes, yes.
Would you be going on Washington Street past Burbank a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
past Burbank.
Just probably a little bit though, because that's where your block, your neighborhood. kinda
Yeah, well,
ends after
Burbank kind of boxes
And then-
that side
Yeah.
in. Yeah, to the north of Burbank, and moving towards Route 67, there's, you
It's-
know, a handful of houses, and most of them are very big, nice houses up on the hill.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
I
that's-
don't think that's gonna help our
That's
cause
where it turns.
financially.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of money there. So actually Burbank itself is on the edge of, you know, I'd say on one side of that road is some very nice houses, and then of course on the bottom Curtis Ave, that's a street that could probably use some attention, but it's in that block, so that
So
fits.
I thought I had printed it out. I will, following this meeting, I'll send out the map.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
That'd be good.
to everyone. So,
It's basically from Parkview, with the car wash,
Yeah.
all the way up to.
Jones,
Jones.
Washington, yeah, that intersection up there.
Okay.
Jones Street is the last street
Jones,
going
yeah.
up to Washington Street. So,
yeah, I'll make sure to get you that map. I apologize. I should have had it. I thought I had printed it out, but apparently not.
Does that include Carpenters?
Includes Elm Street.
Carpenter's right in the
Carpenter.
middle,
Yeah.
Liberty, Elm,
Liberty.
Carpenter, Kai's Street, Jones Street, all of them.
Good.
Right.
So,
Okay, so,
Good shape.
yeah, if there's no comments on that, then
Yeah.
we'll move forward with including that in the application.
Definitely.
And then we'll be looking at, either one or both Spring and or Summer Street.
Okay.
So, we just initiated the income survey for that road or those streets.
Yeah.
We don't know the results yet, but as soon as they come in, I'll make sure to, I'll update you guys on whether or not we can look at both, one, you know, some form of the other.
Okay.
But again, what we'll do there is we'll look for a design to, you know, position us for an FY '26 application for construction funds.
Yeah.
So those are all the potential activity. I just wanted to make sure everyone's in agreement with that, and if there's anything or other projects, activities, that you'd like to bring, you know, to our attention.
Nothing that's gonna be shovel ready, so it's like in these designs and obviously the infrastructure studies, that's all key. You have to put your ducks in a row.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah,
this
exactly.
is that process that'll lead us to, you know, more improvements down the road. So, yeah, I think, unless I can think of anything else.
What about the streets like, Carl, Ramsdale, Mechanic, those few right here?
Yeah, I
Is
think,
that
well,
something
again, that's, you would have to do the same thing as far as an infrastructure study in that neighborhood first, before we could visit
That is not a
that.
bad idea.
But that is another
good.
It's
neighborhood
another-
along with,
Maybe neck.
that needs some attention.
So I'm actually, that's actually a perfect segue, Jim, thank you. If everyone's good with this, I was actually gonna lead into, the next document here, which
Okay.
is, Warren CDAC projects. That title won't necessarily be the final one, but basically what this is that it's a compilation of potential projects that we could consider, you know, not just limited to this year's application, but in the future, and I think it's something we can build off of. I've gone through, or we've gone through and looked at this, and I wanna go through it with you, take, you know, a few minutes, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. But I guess what I wanna make sure you know is, what I'm using this for is when we do our narrative, in the application, that I'm referencing, you know, we as a committee in the town has a list of projects that they have tried to or want to advance, through CDBG, that we're not just picking these projects out of thin air, you know, depending on whoever's, you know, throwing in the application. So, you know, I think for some of you guys might remember the community development strategy.
Yeah.
So I know that was like an official document that the application required, that requirement's no longer, a thing. So this is kind of like still a way that we can, you know, I can point to in the application and say, look, this is what's guiding the town in making these projects and advancing them to the different stages. So is it okay if we just go a couple
Yeah,
minutes?
absolutely.
here?
Let's
Okay,
go through it.
Okay. So I think, and Jim, I know you just threw out a couple streets.
Yep.
Yep.
You know, so if there's something that you want to add to it. So I have just started here, the pipeline of potential projects. And again, and most of these are CDBG, but some of them, they don't necessarily have to be just CDBG. You know, just kind of infrastructure or some kind of, in the spirit of community development related projects. So starting with Hillside, Avenue, you guys, I just went over that, you know, the status there. So I think that's obviously our next one, that made the list. Washington Street neighborhood, again, another project that we're looking to advance. Spring and Summer Street, just went through those. That's why these are all included in the application. The downtown culvert project, so that was the one that,
MVP.
Yep, exactly. That, we're waiting on that expression of interest. Chapel Street, I know that had been mentioned in the
Yeah.
past. That was another one we wanted to consider.
Definitely.
Pulowski and Cottage Street, so we did get the engineering design study through One Stop.
Yep.
But potentially, maybe use CDBG for construction of, I know we talked about Cottage, maybe
Yep.
that would probably be a qualified street, that we
Definitely
can
a
consider.
qualified street.
You're right. So, that's why I put that in there. And then I also saw some, discussion around Parkview, Liberty Street, Keys.
Aren't those included in
In
the?
the Washington
that's the
Street
Washington
neighborhood.
Street.
Yes, right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Right. So what I think I was gonna do is, I was between, if we wanted to expand on some of those streets, you really wanted to focus on that neighborhood for real construction. I mean, some of these are like, how do I say, it's based on like preliminary assumption that it may or may not qualify.
Yeah.
But if there's other streets in that Washington Street neighborhood that you think, we really should consider going forward. And what I mean by going forward is like initiating an income survey on.
Yeah.
Please let me know. Just throw it out there.
What's it, Carpenter.
Oh,
Carpenter Street is
Carpenter
a
Street.
must on
it's
that.
probably,
Carpenter, and then
worse.
tied to that that's Liberty, but Carpenter is the one that's,
the most in bad shape.
Okay, good to
Yeah.
know. Okay, Carpenter.
Hard, to use my word.
And we're talking design, construction,
everything,
Everything.
yeah.
subsurface, surface. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Did you mention one other one? Was there?
Well, it's just Elm and Liberty were definitely, Liberty's on
Did
here.
I? Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't see Elm Street too.
Elm, yeah.
Okay,
Elm Street.
okay. So I guess extending beyond that area, townwide, is there any
Well,
other?
that's what Jim was referring to, I don't know if you'd wanna call it like either a Bridge Street or High Street neighborhood, but it's basically that region between Bridge Street and Route 19 or Maple Street. And it's all the connecting streets in between them, High Street,
Gotcha.
and then Mechanic Street comes off of High back
Yeah.
to
I
Maple.
would call it the Bridge Street neighborhood.
Yeah.
Bridge Street
and
neighborhood.
Go
then-
with that.
yeah.
Jeremy, do we have any, is there any infrastructure plans or anything that,
Well, we wanted to do the water line on High Street, but the water district didn't have the money. And so I did an overlay to just give us a decent road condition for the foreseeable future.
Gotcha.
But the water lines in all these neighborhoods, I think, are in pretty rough shape for
Okay.
sure.
High Street.
High Street is real bad, Mechanic is real bad.
So
Because I helped in replacing, observed in replacing a hydrant on Mechanic Street, and they were concerned about tamping around the soil around it because the pipes were so old that they didn't want to split the pipe by compacting the soil too hard.
Wow.
So it's one of
Yeah,
those
that's-
cross your fingers and run the compactor over it.
Right, right.
You know, so.
So if you, geographically, so Bridge Street neighborhood, where do you want to roughly define that? Like
Well,
where,
Bridge, Route 19, and High Street.
Bridge,
Yeah.
Route
Well,
19, High
basically,
Street?
yeah,
Yeah.
here all the way to,
Reed Street,
Street.
up to the edge where it
Yep.
meets Reed
Yep.
Street. That's where it kind of encompasses the neighborhood.
Okay.
And you
Yeah,
probably want to
triangle
do
from-
Hitchcock Ave.
Hitchcock should be a
Yep.
part of that too,
Oh, yes.
because actually I feel like that street
Dude,
needs to
nah.
needs some attention. It's rough, narrow, little retaining walls collapsing.
yeah,
Oh.
There's a few houses that
Right.
they struggle. There's no parking for the people. They
No.
basically park almost in the street.
Oh, okay.
It's tough to plow.
It's
Somebody-
tough.
whoever- I don't know who plows that route, but it's real difficult to plow that
Yeah.
route. And also, fire truck getting through there. It'd
Yes.
be extreme-
Oh,
it's
very
a-
difficult
It's a disaster
for a
waiting to
fire
happen.
truck.
If you can't get a fire truck through there.
Yeah, I did we had some tree work done there a few years back just to make it so you could even drive the truck through without getting cleaned out by
really? Wow.
branches.
Yeah,
So,
it's a good, yeah.
All right, great.
and that is the secondary access to this building.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
that completes the circuit coming off
Yeah, if you went out, you
from
could-
High Street coming around and take down
It
to
is
come out
very
on
nice.
onto Maple Street again.
Okay.
do you wanna include Pine Grove Drive too?
Yeah, that's
Right
right
next
on the,
block.
it's on the
Oh,
other
it's
side
on
of
the other
Maple
side,
Street,
but
but it's really, it's in this
Okay.
neighborhood.
Okay.
So
Well,
Pine Grove.
Pine
And
Grove.
then Washburn.
Yeah, no, Washburn's
That's
not a
private.
town-owned right-of-way, not, that's all private,
Oh, is it
hundred percent
really?
private.
It is, no, yep.
100%
Contrary to what
Our
some people
ownership
say.
stops at the sidewalk that leads across the entrance of the
Believe
road.
maybe the utilities
So,
go through.
one thing to
their
note,
water.
CBG can fund
Private.
private roads, right? As
Ooh,
long
they
as,
would love that.
as long as the residents are determined to be low to moderate income residents.
They're all, I believe they're all mostly
Low.
low.
So if you wanted to include that on
Yeah.
here, we could, okay.
Yeah, let's do
So
it,
was it
'cause-
Washburn?
Washburn
Washburn.
Ave. So
Yes.
it is a private drive, but the residents there struggle. It's a very nasty little section of road.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
it's
no, I mean,
awful.
it's good for potential CDBG project.
Yep.
But what would we have to do from a state perspective to make that a?
They just, no, it would stay private, but the funding could come through CDBG if they qualify on the income survey.
Right,
So
right.
the state would deem it, yeah, these people need help.
They do.
They need better road, better services to help support their small little community.
Right,
So,
exactly.
and there's a lot of apartments, houses compact on a very short,
Oh, yeah.
small road, so.
That's great. Okay. Then going on to the next page here, unless there's any other streets that we want to add to the list. And again, this is kind of like a working document. This isn't going to be like a
Yeah,
final.
well, we can add to it, we can, yeah.
Right, right.
Perfect.
So projects underway, I have the Town Common, design project, Cutter Park, River and Central, a couple different things at the senior center, including, one of them being CDBG funded, but also another, Green Communities, Shepherd Building, I have this should not be, the ADA ramp design should not be under.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what is
Yeah, it's
that?
not, that shouldn't be not started, I'm sorry about that. You know what, I wonder if that made its way in from the other pipeline, so maybe that shouldn't be there, but,
Well, you have,
Well, it's under the green community.
yeah, so that's current, right?
Yes.
Whether the heat.
Yes, they're
Yes,
doing
okay.
weatherization on this
And
building.
that, okay, right,
So the Shepherd Building is definitely a part of on underway projects.
it's the ADA ramp.
under potential
design.
projects, second page, you have Shepherd Building, the ADA elevator and ramp.
Okay, I wonder how that.
So
made
it's
it.
already covered, it's just in
Yeah.
the wrong spot.
Gotcha, sorry
Well,
about
in
that.
this case it is.
Yeah.
Yep, no, I'll remove that line there. Thank you, Rich. Okay, and then also the New Reed Street culvert replacement project that
Yep.
you got recently funded through
Yes.
DER.
Yep.
So those were the ones that first came to my mind.
Yep.
Are there any other ones that you think are worthy of mention in this document that are underway?
Underway projects? No, I think that's it for the underway projects.
And nothing with Reed Street with the flooding there, is that something?
That will be future potential through MVP.
Okay.
That, we can add that to,
All right.
you know, in the
Right.
series, cause like I said, there's a bunch of stuff for,
Okay, that's what-
potential projects.
So I was thinking, like, at a minimum, we'd update this at least once a year, like, right around the grant application. time.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, if there's something that changes, we can
Yeah, we
add it at
can
that time.
hash it out a little bit more and add some stuff to it.
Okay, great. And then this last little piece, I just we just identified some potential funding sources. None of these probably come as a surprise to any of you. But again, just calling out some of the potential, funding and grant cycles.
We'll be adding, complete streets. to it,
Oh,
too.
yeah, perfect, perfect. Thank you, Jeremy.
Welcome.
That's exciting. Okay. Anything other than complete streets?
Do you want me to get into some more grant programs, or I can bring us into a few more things? Yeah, why not? After the next snowstorm, I'll squeeze it
Yeah,
in.
right.
So,
No, this is an awesome list. It's more than a lot of other communities, so it's definitely yeah, you guys are doing a lot of work, so. Okay, great. So I think that's a good, kind of draft.
Yeah,
The only other thing I think I'll do maybe between now and the time that the application is final is maybe associate some prioritization, so like a list from like 1 through from
Yeah.
most to least important, or whatever you guys want to get done.
Yeah, I think
Um,
once we establish a solid list, which you've got this is a great jump off point, then we can probably go through and add priority to things. and-
Okay, great,
Yeah.
great. Okay, this, again, thank you for that time, because it does make, it's useful, very useful for the grant application itself,
Yeah.
so it wasn't time wasted. And then the last thing I want to do, just wrap it up, is just kind of go through a couple, the timeline of the grant application, so a couple important dates that I wanted
Okay.
to make sure that you guys were aware of. So, I spoke with Sharon at the senior center. What I would like to do is to put together, again, this is for us, making sure we have the best possible application, is some kind of community forum, where we can talk about some of the work that the advisory committee has been doing, and then also the potential activities that are going to be applying for it, kind of give an opportunity for them to provide some feedback or comment. And even thinking about sharing, our list here,
Yeah.
and see if there's any additional things that we might be missing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, it's incredibly beneficial for the application. They want to see community input. I think the forum would be the best setting for that. So with that said, I did confirm space for February the 12th at 6. It'd be awesome if someone, or if, you guys from the advisory committee could be in attendance, not requiring it. I know
I'll
it's.
be there.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. I
What
knew
day
you
is that?
sure.
February 12th?
That's February 12th.
It's a Wednesday, right?
Yeah, at 6.
At 6, I'll be there.
Okay, thank you,
Whoa.
thank you.
Late night for you.
No, 8 o'clock I go to bed.
Oh, okay. We'll make sure we gotta wrap it up by 7:30.
Right, and we're gonna bring some refreshments and treats if that, hold it
Oh,
over.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's possibility if you could have the cable tape it or
Oh.
video it.
Yeah, I could
Yeah,
send an
because
email.
Talk to, Travis.
Okay.
Talk to Travis, yeah, we
Yeah.
could send that out to a lot more people.
Yeah, it
Okay,
could be
great.
taped and. could
Because
be
I'm
put
sure
on
there's
the-
people
Great.
that would
Channel.
like
Great
to,
idea.
like to see it, but
Yeah.
can't make it,
Right.
for whatever reason, so.
So I'm actually also developing a flyer, which I'll share with you guys
Okay.
as well, that I'll have, put on the Facebook, throughout, posted in town, wherever else, Karen can help me out in posting. You can distribute anywhere.
We could put it on our flashing signs.
Yeah, exactly, right. So I'll make one, a pretty one, so it'd be good to put up.
Yeah, okay.
So that would be a big one. And then also looking at seeing if we can nail down a public hearing date, which is required for the application. So
Okay.
this would be at a Board of Selectmen meeting. And I was eyeing, hopefully it's enough time in advance, March 27th as that date.
Rich will have to be there to represent us.
Yes, please.
I'll be there.
Okay.
I won't be,
Okay.
I'll be in Key West,
Oh.
so, sorry. I've been in a couple years. Tom.
What? You were there last year?
No, it
weren't
was
you?
the year before.
Really?
Yeah, it's been 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
Much needed end of winter break.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I think there's a snowstorm that day, isn't there?
Yeah.
My crew will take care of it. I have them very well trained. So they'll be good.
Which is a good question. So, sorry, Rich, what do you typically do when do you cancel anymore, being that it's offered virtual? Because usually we had to put a snow date in the ad, but if there was, say, a major snow event or something like that.
Yeah, the building would be closed, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could potentially close the building and then we wouldn't have a meeting.
Okay, so how would I go, what would you then do, just the following week?
Yeah, if you
Whatever
wanna
the
do
next
that.
meeting
Yeah.
is.
So that
So
would,
then that, it fulfills the posting requirement if you do that? Is that,
right,
because you're posting for 2 meetings, one will be canceled.
right.
Hopefully the first one gets
Yeah.
fulfilled,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
you can cancel the second. but-
Right.
Yeah, so you do the 27th and the 3rd.
and the
Okay,
third.
the third,
Yeah.
okay,
that's
great.
Perfect.
Sounds good, thank you.
Oh, I could make the third too. I'll be back I'll get back on the second. I'll be tanned and rested.
Yeah, right,
Perfect.
right. All right, well, that is all that I have. Yeah, I begin to start doing some writing and some data collection, so I think we're in good shape going forward, and we have quite a few really good, solid projects. The last thing I want to mention, I know I talked about this last time, is there's still the potential to join, or I shouldn't say join, they'd be joining with you, the town of Warren, from Millbury.
Okay, yeah.
They have a project, again, like I said, it wouldn't negatively affect your budget, anything, any of the activities that you're applying for, any of the amounts. It'd only be more advantageous because they also are a 5. So
Okay.
we'd like to think that maybe the state would look a little better on, 2 towns that are 5s,
Fives.
that are working together to try and to better their chances at getting funded,
Mhm.
so again, I wouldn't suggest or say that we do this if it came at the cost of, any negative impact of the application from the town,
Mhm.
so,
Okay.
yeah. I haven't finalized that yet, but just.
Working
just-
on it.
Yeah,
Working on
exactly,
it.
exactly.
Okay. Well, I think, yeah, that sounds like a good thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if anything to help us, absolutely.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Like you say, it's one of these deals, it helps, it can't hurt.
Right,
All right.
exactly. Okay,
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, any new business? Anyone want to bring up? No, nothing? No new business? All right, let's plan our next meeting. Okay, February,
February.
we're in February.
26?
I believe that'll be it. Is that it? 26th good for everyone?
It's good for me.
Okay. All right, perfect. All right, just need somebody to throw out the happy famous words at the end of the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Steve Crystal? Yes.
Did you say second?
Second. Oh, God.
All in favor?
Oh, God, this stuff is good. We gotta get some informal.
Rich Ihacker, aye.
Steve Crystal,
James McCann, aye.
why can't I get this right?
Jeremy Olson, aye. The meeting is adjourned.
I did record to the cloud, is that what you